Chapter 3, The Floobs. We may have been the scrubby losers during middle school and then high school, but we turned it around and made it cool to be a scrub. Of course, it wasn't cool to anybody else, but it was cool to us. We gave us scrubs and scrubs like us our own name, the Floobs. Before there were juggalos, you see, there were Floobs. We wore the same old shoes and shitty clothes from rummage sales, but to us, we didn't have to be cool because we were Floobs. Everybody else had dope-ass bikes. You remember mongooses and super gooses? Well, we never had no shit like that. But if you had a beat-up Huffy with a banana seat and a steering wheel for handlebars, then you had a Floob-mobile. We turned our scrubbiness into something we could be proud of. Not everybody, though, was as proud of it as we were. There was a kid named Scott who used to play role-playing games with my brother. He didn't like to be seen with the Flooby Bruce brothers at school. So one morning after spending the night at our house, he had my mom drop him off 2 blocks away from the school. He didn't want to be seen getting out of my mom's car, let alone with us Bruce brothers. Years later, after school was long over and he was in the army, he apologized for that. Us, we used to have our mom pull us right up to the fucking school doors in her blue rust bucket. Woo! We fucking loved it. We gave no fucks at all about none of that flavor. Everybody would say, "Ha, look at your mom's car." We'd be climbing out in our fresh-ass hand-me-down rummage sale track shoes and be like, "Damn right, man." Truth is that we had no choice but to wave our scrub flag everywhere we went because we were scrubs, and that's just the way things were for the Bruce brothers. One day, my mom and sister were fighting as usual. They started throwing each other down the stairs. The people under us called the landlady, and they held the phone up to the ceiling. Our landlady could hear the fighting and all the crazy-ass noise. The next day, we got a phone call informing us we were getting kicked out. Who gave a fuck? We hated that apartment, especially the mean married couple underneath us. The guy was a bodybuilder, and he always yelled at us for doing laundry when he was in the shower. I guess the water would go cold on him or whatever. He always banged on the ceiling with a broom when the TV was too loud. That fucking flat sucked to live in. Just to get to the basement laundry machine, we had to walk out the front door, walk all the way down the driveway and into the backyard through the snow and all the way to the back door. We were just happy to have a laundry machine though. Right about the same time we were getting kicked out of our flat in Berkeley, my mom met another guy. She really liked him. His name was Ron. Ron fell in love with my mom right away. My mom is a warrior of a woman, and she has been to hell and back. I think you know that by now. I think Ron respected that. My mom loved Ron as well. You see, Ron has been to hell and back too. His life story is a whole nother book's worth of adventures. So they were in love and we were happy for our mom. Of course, at first, Ron gave us the whole deal of being extra cool and nice by bringing over chips and food and shit. But we always figured he was just wasting his time. We never figured our mom would actually marry again after that last asshole. Ron was way different though. He dated my mom for a long ass time without ever talking about marriage. My mom was in desperate need of help, and Ron was there for her. Bills were stacking up higher and higher. Teresa was still on the loose, and now we were getting booted out on our asses. Things were looking really bad, but Ron really sort of saved us. He helped us out in many ways. Before long, my mom was asking us if we would consent to her getting married again. I was about 11 by this time. I felt a little bit older now, and I figured I could defend myself if things went bad again, so I didn't mind. Plus, all I really ever wanted was my mom to be happy. My brother Rob seemed upset about it at first, but he too was more concerned about our mom being happy than anything else. My sister, of course, was out and about on the streets, and I think my mom just needed a person to help her get through it all. Get through all that insanity. We needed to find a new place to live. My mom had just about ran out of options. We couldn't afford to stay in Berkeley anymore, so she and Ron found a house to rent in Oak Park, Michigan. A lot of people we knew suddenly took pity on us as if we were never to return. Here's how it works, sort of. The entire northern Detroit area is separated by mile roads. The higher the number of the mile road, the farther you are from Detroit. Mile roads 5 up to 8 mile are actually in Detroit city limits. From 8 mile to 10 mile, it's pretty much the bordering trashy suburbs. From 10 mile all the way out to something like 28 mile road are suburban safe and friendly, I guess. Our new house in Oak Park, Michigan, just off 9 Mile Road, might as well have been in fucking Compton as far as the other kids in Berkeley were concerned. All they talked about was how dangerous and deadly it was south of 10 Mile. I have to be honest, y'all. My brother and I really truthfully didn't give a fuck where we lived. Oak Park, Berkeley, Moscow, fucking whatever. It was all the same to us. As soon as we moved in, my mom and Ron got married. And right away, we got a new dog that we loved named Lady. As time went on, we learned that Ron was basically a decent ninja. He was a little bit stale in a few ways, but nothing too bad. He was a Vietnam vet, and Rob and I really looked up to him for that. He endured a lot of combat and saw a lot of it over there. That deserves big respect. The only real flaw was that at home, he would complain about dumb shit all the time. Shit that really didn't matter at all. Dumb shit like our dog Lady being up on the couch. He didn't like Lady on the furniture. Why the fuck not? Our furniture was poked with holes in it and tore up any fucking way. Ron also didn't like us feeding Lady table food. The whole time growing up with Ron, I must admit, I never once listened to him. After a while, Lady knew that when she heard Ron coming, it was time to get off the couch. The second Ron was gone, or he went in his room or whatever, she would jump right back up on the couch. It was just funny to us. By the time Ron came into our lives, to be honest, I think I was just finished with the whole having a dad thing anyway. I pretty much ignored all of his household laws. Nowadays, I respect and love him for staying with my mom and helping us out so much all them years. He was by far the best dad I ever had. We weren't leaving behind very much in Berkeley. We only had a few so-called friends. My only Berkeley homie was named Mike Olson. He wasn't much of a friend, but nobody was back then. Mike wouldn't talk to me in school very much, but during the weekends in summertime, he would come around and hang out. Nobody wanted to be seen hanging with the notorious Spruce Brothers in Berkeley, so I understood. Just a few days before we moved, Mike Olson was chilling at our house while we were packing up all our shit. He had the biggest bunch of Transformer toys that he had been collecting for years. My brother had this one fresh-ass Transformer that Mike didn't have yet. Every time Mike came over, he would jock the hell out of it. Suddenly, Rob shocked us all. "We're moving, so you might as well take it," he said. "What? No fucking way, are you serious?" Mike asked. Rob was cool like that. Mike loved that toy more than Rob did, so he just gave it up to him. Mike took it with the quickness. We knew it was the last time we'd ever see him. "My mom ain't gonna let me visit you guys in Oak Park," Mike said. "There's a lot of trouble around there." Caddying was how we started to learn just how different being poor and being rich was. I'd be out caddying for these golfers in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon and I'd ask them flat out, "Are you rich?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm not rich, I'm just average." We'd be sitting there at 12 years old thinking, wait a minute, how the fuck can he be average? If he's average, then what's he calling me, poor? This golfer don't have the right to be calling himself average. He should be claiming himself rich, that fucking bastard. He's out there golfing on a Tuesday afternoon at a private country club in Birmingham, pulling up in a Cadillac. He's fucking rich. Let me be the average guy. Homeless people are poor, motherfucker. Shit. Because if he's average, that's calling me poor. And I got a roof over my head. Rich people don't think before they talk. I use that as my motto through life right now. Now, every time somebody asks me if I'm rich, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm mad fucking rich. I'm richer now than them golfers were, so I'm super rich. Yes, I, Joe Bruce, am rich. These golfers, God, they were assholes. This one guy, Mr. Santee, used to whip his clubs at us when he'd fuck up a shot. I swear I'm not making this up. He would actually whip his clubs at me as if I had anything to do with his shitty golfing. I always got Mr. Santee because none of the caddies would do it. Sometimes the golfers would have a cart and you would have to run behind it after they hit their ball. Those carts went up to 15 miles an hour. The whole while you were running your ass off, the golfers would be sitting there driving as they sipped on lemonade, talking about how shitty the caddies are these days. The caddy master would give all the good gigs to everybody but me and my brother, and yup, the black kids. Some days, we'd sit there on the bench all fucking day and not get a single loop. We'd play Galaga, the arcade game, because that was the only game they had in the caddy shack. That's why I own Galaga in my house today. I fucking still love it. I could make $80 a week though, which at the time was a fortune. All I did with that $80 was buy Atari games and a ninja suit. I'd get home and ninja around the neighborhood all night on my imaginary secret ninja missions. Anything to get me out of reality. My brother was the same way. The reality was we were still geeks. We were fucked with at school and fucked with in the caddy shack. Look at us now as ICP. We're still scrubs. No Grammys, no Hollywood parties, no celebrity appearances, none of that. ICP just doesn't count. Even after selling 8 million fucking albums, we just don't count. It's in our blood for eternity. We're gonna be the fucking underdog no matter what happens in our lives. People always used to say, you'll never make it because you wear that stupid clown makeup. Now they say, the only reason you made it this far is because you wear that stupid clown makeup. You think people hate us now? God, they hated us up in that caddy shack. Why? Not because we were poor, but because we were loud, because we said what was on our minds. Oh, and we'd go on our ninja adventures and then show up for work and tell everybody about them. Even if they didn't want to hear it, those who did listen didn't believe us. Nobody believed us.
We climbed up to the top of a billboard last night.
Shut up.
We did. It was the shit, you know?
Shut up. I kinda got used to being treated like shit, and pretty soon in true Floobs style, I had being treated like shit working for me instead of against me. I was broke one day as usual, so I went up to the older caddies.
Man, I'm so thirsty, please let me get $1 and I'll pay you back when I get my check.
They all knew I could breakdance because I was always telling them how I could dance like Michael Jackson. Then one of them said, "You want some money for free? Let me see you do the worm." The other caddies all got the golfers to circle around me while I did the worm. I was on a black wet carpet, so my white clothes got all dirty and shitty. I got the money though, and I was straight with that. Fuck my clothes. One caddy especially was an extra dick. He'd push us around and pimp my brother and me all day, smack our hats off, push us in the back, bullshit like that. He was always surrounded by a crew of his Richie fuck friends. One night, just like every night, we were sitting up in the caddy shack. Suddenly, here comes that bully coming back from a late loop. Everybody else had gone home, so it was just my brother, him, and me. We were gaining courage now in life, because when you get hit enough times, you tend to start hitting back. This would be the last day he'd ever fuck with us. We got up and grabbed him and took him in the back of that caddy shack. Nobody else was around. "We should kick your butt right now," my brother said, and bam, he suddenly hit him low in the stomach. I came across and started punching him in the face, and then we started kicking him when he was on the ground. All our frustration was released by giving him a well-deserved beatdown. The kid was hurt bad and scared shitless, cowering on the floor in a ball trying to protect his head. "Say you're a punk," my brother screamed in his ear until he finally said it. I jumped in.
"Now that you ain't got your boys here, you ain't shit. And if you ever try to fuck with us again, we'll shatter your skull with a putter, motherfucker."
Of course, I'm telling the story with cuss words, but believe it or not, we still weren't cussing yet. We were about 12 and 14 years old with 8-year-old mouths. That was the first heroic move my brother and I ever made together, and our whole outlook started to change that day. Instead of taking abuse as a floob, I vowed I'd start blowing people's grills out. We were in Oak Park and nobody knew we were losers there. Not like back in Berkeley.
We got a chance to get out of this, I told Rob. Let's not be afraid anymore.
My sister, meanwhile, had a baby and moved to a city called Taylor in an area of Detroit known as Downriver. The baby was named Angela. That was finally the turning point for my sister, thank God. At least she was slowing down. She lived in the Pine Ridge apartments, and they were the absolute worst section of Taylor. It was a total crack haven. The dealers would flick lighters when you drove up, meaning they had some product for sale. My sister lived way in the back of the complex, so when we'd visit, it didn't matter that the streetlights were shot out. Everybody would just flip their lighters as my mom drove through. I can't front, that shit was scary as hell. To make a very long story about my sister short, giving birth to her first daughter, Angela, was the beginning of the end of that 5-year wave of hell she put us through. Today, she's got 4 kids, Angie, Sarah, Daniel, and Amanda, and she lives in a nice town north of Detroit called Clarkston. She finally got it together now. She's sort of taken the place as my mom as the leader of the family. We have all the holiday festivities at her house, and she has a wonderful husband named Randy, and she totally has her shit together. I'm so happy to see her come out of all that on such a good side and in such a good way. What hell she went through. It's such a shame she had to go through that, but she turned out just right, and that's awesome. Our way of escaping life had always been and still was through non-reality. There was a big undeveloped plot of land on Greenfield Road between 11 and 12 Mile Road, about 3 miles from our house, that was filled with picker bushes and tall trees. My brother named it Picker Forest. Nowadays, it's just a freeway and what little is left of the forest. Back then, though, I swear to God, it was like a whole nother world to us, and it was all ours. Sometimes I think God gave us that place. Without it, we would have never had the anchor to hold us in place. Picker Forest was our home away from home, Floob headquarters. It was truly, truly magical. With my mom still spending all her time helping my sister and her baby, it was up to Picker Forest to raise us. There were ghosts and spirits in there, I shit you not. One time we were walking through Picker Forest and we found this little yellow house. I had a golf ball in my pocket that I found earlier. I threw it through the basement window. The window was already broken out and I just wanted to see how deep it was. Plop, we heard the ball go in, and all of a sudden, it came back up to the window and stayed there, right in the middle of the window, right in midair, floating in the darkness. It was like somebody was in all black down there, had caught it and was holding it back up to us. We were so scared we ran like motherfuckers. We never ever found that yellow house again. It was so weird. We looked for it so many times. We brought people with us trying to find it, and no matter what, how hard we searched, we could never find that little house again. It was like it was only there for the day. Another time we brought a kid with us who'd never been there before. About a half hour into our trek though, he started freaking out.
Holy shit, I've been here in another life. I've been here in another life,
he kept saying. Then he turned around and started heading to a part of the forest we'd never been to. Follow me, he shouted.
I'm gonna take you to a yellow fire hydrant and you can unscrew the top of it.
We didn't know what the hell he was talking about. The fact was nobody had ever been there before, but he was having some kind of past life experience. So he led us all the way across the forest to this dirt road that was a dead end on both sides. It didn't make any sense. It was just a strip of road surrounded by trees. Right there was this yellow fire hydrant, just like he said. And you know how you can't normally unscrew them? We grabbed the top and started turning it, and it came off just like that. Just like he said it would. Unfucking believable. We also found bum camps deep in the forest and a radio tower that was ringed up by a fence that we always feared was electric. One time we saw a wizard on the roof of a house and he just disappeared into a puff of smoke. We saw all kinds of crazy shit like that in Picker Forest. It was a place of magic. We made beware signs out of wood boards using my brother's wood burning set that he got for Christmas, and we nailed them to trees all on the outskirts of the forest to warn people of the possible dangers. Picker Forest became our escape from being geeks in the real world because nobody judged us there. Nothing showed me what a geek I was more than when I fell in love with this girl, Michelle Harmon, in the 7th grade. I met her one day on the playground when I was trying to break the ice on the bottom of the slide. She came up and started helping me break the ice. I had game, I felt like. I had a revelation. Why was she helping me break the ice? She must have had feelings for me, I thought. She was absolutely beautiful. I may have failed the 2nd grade, but by now I was smart enough to know this girl had to like me if she came over to help me break the ice off the slide, so I thought. Fuck, man. I was so into her, I'd put on my snowmobile suit, head to toe, and walk back and forth in front of her house. I made a whole city out of milk cartons with little windows cut out of paper and everything and named it after her, Harmon City. Finally, I got my sister's cassette deck and recorded an hour tape of me pouring my heart out to Michelle about how I felt. I gave it to her in school the next day. That was on a Friday. The weekend that followed was the longest weekend of my life. Man, y'all truly, really gotta believe me. I was truly in love with this girl for a long time, and this love was deep. I know I was only in 7th grade, but man, I had authentic, real feelings for this girl. The following Monday, she handed me back a different cassette. I couldn't wait to get home and listen to it. I put it in and pushed play, just geeked as hell. Right away, I could hear my tape going in the background.
Hello, Michelle, this is Joe Bruce.
And right after that, the unmistakable sound of girls laughing. Not just laughing, but laughing at me. They were giggling and quoting all the things I was saying, busting on me like I was the joke of their little slumber party. Then it happened. Michelle said,
Hey, Joe Bruce, this is what I think of you.
She cut a fucking fart. Now, I don't know what the fuck y'all are thinking, but I have never heard a bitch fart in my life, ever. It was like an unwritten law that they don't fart in front of guys. So for her to fart at me like that really showed me how much she gave a fuck about me. She didn't give 2 shits about me to actually fart at me. That shit destroyed me. I was traumatized. That weekend, my brother and I filled our canteens and headed out to the only place of peace, Picker Forest. Just the 2 of us. It started pouring rain, and pretty soon there was a river with all this mud, and there was a big vine, and we swung on that vine right into the mud river. It took me right out of that Michelle tape slump. All I thought of was all the kids in our neighborhood. They could be at the skating rink, the arcade, or wherever, but we were here. We were in our spot, deep in the middle of Picker Forest. This was our muddy, dark forest full of ghosts, the only place we felt at home. My brother and I walked home wet and muddy, and I realized right then when I tried to talk to that beautiful girl, when I fucked with the real world, I got burned. However, Picker Forest rewarded me. It told me things were going to be okay. The spirits of Picker Forest had our backs. No matter where we were from then, Picker Forest always had our backs. I realize now that this was the beginning of the Dark Carnival. I saw too many miracles happen out there in Picker Forest not to believe that there wasn't a different kind of power at work in this world. Not the world of everybody else, but our world. The golf ball, the kid who thought he was there in the past life, the wizard that disappeared off the roof. These were the spirits that came from the Dark Carnival. Only back then, we didn't have a name for it yet. It was there, though. It was happening all around us. It was with us all along. Picker Forest had raised us. It also kept us out of the house. When we did have to go home, we preferred to stay outside. We developed our version of sumo wrestling. We called it the Japanese Olympics. I'd stay out for hours kung fu fighting. If we were inside, it was just to watch Charlie Rum's Kung Fu Theater on Channel 20. Even then, each and every commercial break, we'd jump outside and start kung fu battling right quick. Anything not to have to stay in the house for that long. I didn't want to deal with what was going on in there. My mom crying, fighting with my sister, yelling on the phone. Rob and I stayed away from it all. We went from having a fucked up childhood to having the greatest childhood imaginable. One within the realm of Picker Forest and our own imaginations and our own realities of the dark carnival.